Are we ready?
Yeah.
I'm ready. Everybody's ready.
hosting?
Who's hosting?
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Okay.
It is my theme anyway, so I will be present for each episode. Unlike some people.
Are you throwing shade at me for not being present at every single? Why is it
No,
always
Jason.
asking me for my freaking? Stop it! You know my. Every time I go to Google, it wants me to log in. I never know my password because I have to change it every single time. I hate Google. I hate you so much, Google. Why do you run the entire world? I hate you
Google's
so
a
much.
sponsor. Calm down.
I
We can
wish I would
broadcast this.
roll over and just be like a cheap French whore if
Oh
if Google
my.
would. Sorry,
Well,
it's just the American Paris.
Jason's got his headband on. He's like ready to go.
Yeah.
There's some makeup around here somewhere. I'm sure I can just cake it on.
Put some rouge on.
Yeah,
you're looking
exactly.
like stupid American tourist.
Exactly. Shake my hind parts a little bit, and then just
Your behind parts.
Your
my hind parts.
Your
My
tail
tail
feathers.
feathers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Behind parts, love remnants. You got them all the good catchphrases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put your love remnants on my behind parts. That's going to be the new shit.
Oh God.
Anyways, this is Slashers, your favorite horror podcast about your favorite horror media. I am your host today, Mikey, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues, co-hosts, and co-cons, Adrian, Jason, and Doug. Boys and girls, say hello to the Mutant Goons from Beyond.
Hello.
Hey, MGBs, you MSGs, your werewolf food with this one. This is Doug.
Hello, everybody. Yay. School starts tomorrow. So, I'm
As Bush would
excited.
say, everybody use your mouth for this episode to talk about things. And that's me forcing a joke in here. That's really bad.
Oh, well, as
What?
they say in French, no mames.
Which Bush is that? Was that Daddy Bush or Little Bush?
CGI Bush.
It was Jeb Bush.
Jeb Bush.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord
Jeb.
his own, the original DeSantis.
Oh my goodness. Let's go ahead and Bush fucked up a lot. But DeSantis and Abbott cannot compare. Like leave my little Christmas ornament painting used to hate the gays, George Bush, criminal of war alone.
Well, I like George Bush because he used to do that.
At least George Bush came up with that, like that drunk uncle that you liked by a little bit.
Well, on
Nobody-
9/11, he was like reading a book. No, that was Scary Movie 3. What was I thinking?
Oh my
he was
goodness,
he was reading a book to
You are obsessed with Scary Movie because the last episode you were like, oh, and Scream when she got shot up on the ceiling with jizz. Like, no, Doug, that was Scary Movie.
Same difference.
Anyways, by the way, no one has commented about which Wes Craven movies are above average in the sexual department. So it looks
above
like I was
average
right.
in the sexual department.
Well,
Mhm.
it's either A, no one listened to the episode, or B, there are none. So
Excuse me, we have 792 listens for last episode. Thank you, probably because I'm the host. But
True.
it's a small fraction of our 2 billion listeners worldwide. But speaking of famous directors of horror, we are sad to announce that one of the staples of horror, William Friedkin, has passed away. Is it Friedkin or
Friedkin.
Okay.
Friedkin, yeah.
Freaking. So it's really strange that it just happened because literally I told you guys I was going to watch The Exorcist for the first time. And as I was watching The Exorcist for the first time, my phone goes bloop and it's William Friedkin. So I can't help but feel like this might be my fault.
Is it your
Oh
fault?
my
Yeah, you took too long. It's like, talk to me. You should have only had 60 seconds. You took 90 seconds. What the fuck? You were supposed to watch The Exorcist early.
Do you know how many times something like this happens where like, and I'm sure this happens to everybody. There should be a word kind of like what is it? When everyone thinks something happened, but it didn't happen.
Is
The
it
something
kismet?
effect.
Is that kismet? KISMET? What is that word?
It's
gotta
Kismet.
Google it.
Isn't it
Yeah.
Sacre Blue? No, it's Deja Vu.
No, it's Kismet.
What's
Yeah.
kismet? When like a strange coincidence happens because you're
Yeah.
doing something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I guess that's what happened because I feel like this has happened before. Like, who died last time? And I was like, I was just watching them in a movie.
Oh,
Well,
then I guess
it's
deja vu would be. if it
Yeah.
Well, no,
happened.
because deja vu would be if I saw the message that he died before, but then he didn't die, but then I saw it when it really happened. I think that's deja vu. But either way, I'm going to file this under conspiracy theory.
The storm is coming, Mikey.
Well, it was the weirdest thing too. It's weird you said that because you're watching The Exorcist when Friedkin died, but I was watching Big Top Pee Wee when they said, "Oh, Pee Wee Herman died." Like I remember, he's like Vance. Remember Big Top Pee Wee with Vance the talking pig? So he's like talking to it, and all of a sudden that's when I found out, oh, Paul Rubens is dead.
Everybody
Like,
bust
holy
out the
shit.
tequila dance.
Well, maybe there's just the podcast is cursed. If you guys make us review your movies, there might be a hex on you.
Ooh, what can we review next? Oh,
actually,
Danny Masterson is in the faculty. We can that one again. Maybe we can do a little.
who's Danny Masterson? The one who plays a coach?
No,
He
Hyde from that 70s show.
he was one of the tweakers in the bathroom
Yeah,
asking for more
He was
scat.
the guy that was arrested, right? He's in
yeah.
prison now for
he's-
waxing the bean and flicking the.
I don't think he's in prison. I think now he's just doing
No.
conservative TV shows.
It's a
Mhm.
lawsuit. Yeah, he was Me Too.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
No. I was just gonna say we can, do anything David Gordon Green related. And hopefully the rest.
How dare you? How very dare you?
Yeah.
Did Freakin'
Um,
direct Exorcist 2?
No,
No.
but he did part 3.
That's a bad movie.
But
no,
you know what?
Friedkin didn't do part 3.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
no,
he
William Peter Blatty did. William Peter Blatty wrote The Exorcist and he directed part 3. I know my
Maybe
stuff.
He did not direct. Hold on, give me a second.
Yeah, he didn't direct part 3.
Blatty did
Pump
not
the
direct
JD
part 3.
breaks.
I got
Yeah,
it on
William
Google
Peter-
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right here. John Borman, William Friedkin. Okay, Blatty's part of it as well. Oh no, wait a minute.
For
No.
Exorcist 2 or 3?
Yeah, part 3. It says William Peter Blatty directed it.
So the guy who wrote the book directed the movie. That's why it's so scary, I think.
Oh, okay.
Well,
You can skip over the Exorcist 2, Mikey. It's
No.
so here's my dilemma because real quick rundown. I really enjoyed the original Exorcist. I thought I was going to be immune to most of it because I've seen either things being made fun of or I've kind of seen clips here and there. But no, there was actually some really good parts. I saw like the 16-minute extended version that you've never seen before. And so I was looking up 2 and 3 because I have those as well, just never watched them. And 2 actually has Linda Blair and kind of continues the story, but does not have the original creators involved. 3 has the original creators involved, but seems like it doesn't follow the first 2. Is
No.
that correct?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it is. And yeah,
3 is weird. It's like a noir, actually. It involves like the Gemini killer, which is Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
So,
I
but
saw
part
that.
2, part 2, I don't. Everyone says it's a terrible movie. I like it for all the wrong reasons. Like the music is done by who is it? The guy who did The Hateful Eight and
Wango
Thing.
Bango.
Well, I wish it was
Oingo
Oingo
Boingo,
Boingo.
whatever
That
it's
would-
called.
Yeah, that'd be better than Forbidden Zone.
yeah.
But no, watch it. It's a little boring, but it's worth it just for the musical cues. So
Well, I think Aid and Austin both said it was fine. Like, watch it if
it
if
is
you
a
want.
fever dream of a movie for sure. It is. It's got what's his face? The guy who does Darth Vader. What's his name? He's the like a
James Earl Jones, yeah.
James, yeah. He's the
in the second one.
yeah. He's
Yeah.
like a African shaman, and
Oh,
there's like
boy.
locusts, and he's spitting out whole tomatoes. It's
Yeah, he
It's
spits
just-
it out. And
Yeah.
it's like, man, you have no gag reflex, James Earl Jones.
it's quite strange, and it's perfect. It's you can skip Extras too.
Oh, well, I'll
and
probably watch it.
The big catchphrase of that movie, everyone in the movie is like Kakumo, Kakumu, Pazuzu, Kakumo, Pazuzu, Kakumo. Like that, like they repeat, like I think it's repeated like 1,000 times. Kakumo, Kakumo, Pazuzu, Kakumo.
Is the mom in number 2?
No, she's like, fuck this.
I prefer, and I think the reason why I'm kind of looking more for the Believer, whatever the new one is called, because I like the mom in the first one rather than like everyone's like, if you haven't seen the movie, you're like, oh, Linda Blair this, Linda Blair that, but the mom actually is the central focal point, and so I really liked her as a character. It's interesting because we haven't really had a movie where the main character is a famous actress, not like in reality, but like in the movie. And so it's kind of shown like how this would happen in that situation where we have a famous person living like in a mansion on location where she's filming and her daughter's being possessed. So I really liked her. And then I also like in Believer whenever she comes back and she's like, I've met you before. So we touched on it before last episode a little bit. So don't want to get too much into it again, but I think that's kind of why I'm down with the brown.
I mean, I'm down with it too. I just feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but because I went to go see Talk to Me last night, and the trailers that played, you got the Exorcist trailer, there's another possession movie. It's like possession movies are like the new ghost movies now. Like, what the fuck?
Are you talking about the one where it lives inside?
Yeah, I think so.
That looks good too.
A little fetus in the jar. It's like, we want to grow her. We could grow her over and over again.
It doesn't show what's in it other than saying, have you seen it, Jason or Aid? It lives inside the commercial.
I have not seen that. No.
So it looks really good. It's like these two, I don't know if they're sisters or what, but it's these two high school girls. And one of them has just a jar and like, she looks like something's going on in her life that's rough. And like the other one's like pretty and like more popular and everything. And so they're trying to figure out what's going on with the sister that has the jar. I don't know what happens, so I'm not going to spoil it because I have some feelings about what happens. But either way, the jar ends up with the other sister and there's an evil entity. I don't know if this is correct or not, but I believe the girls are Indian because I believe it's going to go into like Indian folklore with a demon or something in regards to their culture that lives in this jar. But the reviews that are coming out for it make it seem like it's very, very frightening. So I'm interested. I think it looks good.
Yeah, and that's A24 too. No, that's the IFC, which is
it's Neon.
Neon, okay.
Like the John Mayer song. Neon.
We'll see how it goes. I'll be the judge of that because everyone was telling me how fucking scary and fanning their nuts to was for Talk to Me. And I watched them like, I mean, it's goofy as shit, and maybe it's just Gen Z's dewiness. Like I could smell the goodwill on their clothes.
I don't think it's goofy at all. Actually, I think
I was laughing. There were people in the audience laughing. Maybe I don't know.
Oh my god, Doug, you probably laugh. You laugh at weird shit all the time. I do think the hype about it being scary was a little over dramatized, but it is really creepy and it is a ghost story. So like already I'm kind of like, it's not going to be as scary to me as like a demon or like an evil thing coming. But it is very creepy and it is scary asterisks, like for some.
If you like the characters from, have you ever seen that movie Project X? It's like the big party movie. That's what it reminded me of.
I never watched it.
It was like a found footage party movie.
Yeah, stupid. But and actually that was not bad. But there's some parts in there where I was like laughing my ass off. They're like, oh, it's so scary. And then I'm like, just
hey, I have not watched it yet, Doug.
An old person doesn't get pushed in front of a
forget
semi.
What Doug
that doesn't happen.
Forget what Doug said, but
delete that from my brain and it's gone. American Werewolf in Paris.
Wait, my last point is for Talk to Me, it doesn't have anything to do with the story, but it is kind of sad because it's not being shown. I forgot where. Some countries not showing it because one of the characters is trans non-binary, but like they don't ever say it. They don't make it a big deal in the movie. It's just the actor identifies with being non-binary or trans. I'm not sure exactly which one, but because of this actor's personal life, they're not going to show it in the movie.
Does that person play a non-binary trans character as well? Or
no,
they don't say anything.
That's the first time you saying that. Yeah, that's the first time I heard of that. I mean, I just watched the movie. I don't even know what character you're referring to. I just thought Gen Z was all dressed like Goodwill baggies. So
it was Kuwait. And so the character I'm referring to is they wear like the collared shirt with the long sleeve shirt over it. They
like the bully character.
Like a little, they're just kind of a jerk, but they're not like they kind of grow on you over time. They have the 90s hairstyle with the little, but the butt cut.
Okay. I would have never known. I thought that was just the Gen Z style. So
Yeah, and the country is Kuwait that it's banned on. So Kuwait, get your shit together, girl, because I'm pretty sure you have people in Kuwait that would like to see this movie.
Yeah,
And
Kuwait. What are they missing? Only like maybe $12 in box
they
office?
have, you guys have, this is so annoying, and I'm not going to get into it, but this whole gender political nonsense, there's so many more things, especially Kuwait needs to concern themselves with. Gender identity and expression is not one of them. So with that said,
Oh,
this is summer. Oh, dog. I was going to say summer of the dog. This is Dog Days of Summer. And so today we are reviewing a film that is very close to my heart. And if you don't know why, I'll explain in a little while for like the second time. But 1997,
I think it's 7.
1997's American Werewolf in Paris. I've been wanting to review this movie for quite some time, and I know you guys haven't. But because this is now my show, my first decision as ruler is going to be to review it. So that was actually the whole plan about Dog Days of Summer. I was saying, we're going to review this, and they can't say anything about it.
And this is the closest to a dog werewolf movie. I mean, this guy's sniffing asses and nanner holes and in a
he was
restaurant.
acting just like Taryn Manning did in the back. That's why I was like,
Oh, yeah.
turn into a dog.
Well, let me ask you, Mikey, do you like this one more than the original?
Thank you, Jason.
What'd you say, Jason?
Oh, I'm saying I have AIDS notes up because I use them for reference.
Oh, I do too. Most deaf. But Doug, to answer, here it is. To answer your question, okay. Do I enjoy this one more than the original? Yes. Do I think this is a better movie than the original one? No. So let's put that out there. Let's put that out there. To give you all context, though, I saw this movie when it first came out before I even liked scary movies. I saw American Werewolf in London for the first time last year. So that kind of explains my, as Aiden, everyone smart in this podcast likes to say, trajectory of this film.
Now, admittedly, I did see this movie before I saw American Werewolf in London, but I went back and I saw American Werewolf in London probably like a year or so after I watched this movie. It's like, that's a better movie, you know? I mean, obviously, it's almost, this is a sequel in name only. I know they sort of tangentially tie it to her, but even then, it's not really. If you didn't know, like I didn't know until I watched it this time, I didn't know it was her, David and what the nurse's name's daughter. I had no clue until I watched this.
Which would be problematic if that was the kid, because wouldn't she be 15 years old?
I was doing the math in my head too. I was like, this is gross.
I think it was 17 or 18 years. No, it was 15. Yeah.
Okay.
And they got married a year later. So spoiler alert for the movie, I guess. But
oh man, but watching this movie, because I watched this when it was like 92 degrees in the house, I was like pouring sweat, and it kind of annoyed me. I forgot like the three guy characters in there. 1996, 97 style. Well, very hostile, but they're wearing like 3-layer clothes. They're wearing like the long pants, like the I'm like they're walking around in the fucking sun and they got 3 layers of clothes on. Get the fuck out of here.
That was the style.
The black-haired friend with the Letterman jacket, he could get it.
Oh yeah, he was hot. Oh,
he was a musician.
He had gratuitous random nudity for no reason.
I know.
There was a reason, Doug. There was a reason. It's because I was watching and Aid.
Oh yeah.
Well, actually, I'll admit,
also needed the key, so
he needed the key. I would have never thought to do what he did, but I think his scene where he's like running around shirtless and stuff, that's the scariest. Like, there's a scene in there where we'll get to it, but as much as the werewolves look like garbage in this like Sega Saturn graphics, there's a quadriplegic werewolf that's crawling around in a bed. I thought it was super creepy.
But yeah, that was cool. But it was also a practical effect, though. So
that was stepdaddy werewolf.
Yeah, paraplegic. Okay, well, before we get too far into the film, so yeah, this one came out in 97, right? Mm-hmm. And so part 1 comes out in 84.
I thought it was 70s.
No,
83. Oh my God, Mikey, no.
I'm so young and naive. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I met David Naughton at Spooky Empire a couple of years ago, and he let me take pictures.
81.
And he was a little Not that he was handsy.
I think you posted the picture
he
of David Naughton, and like you're smiling, and he's like looking at your side boob, like
yeah, he
his
was
eye
totally,
line.
yeah, I know. He got excited. It's fine. It's fine. Because I don't know if y'all remember, but he is in an episode of Seinfeld where he's Elaine's on the wagon boyfriend, and he plays he's on the wagon, but then Jerry sets Elaine's drink down next to his cranberry juice and he picks up the wrong drink and then he's off the wagon. And so that's a whole episode of Seinfeld.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, it's really funny. I do. Oh, that's the one where George sleeps with the cleaning lady in the office. Anyway, so I mean, the only thing is that when I talk about American Werewolf in London, and I don't know how you guys feel, but I always feel guilty enjoying that movie because of John Landis and all his bullshit. So
is he problematic?
Well, he killed people and got away with it.
Yeah.
He killed kids and one of the bigger actors from the 70s on the Twilight Zone movie.
Was that the helicopter thing?
Yeah, that was the helicopter thing.
Oh,
and two little kids. So I as much as I love that film, it's hard for me to really like praise everything about it because obviously John Landis is a piece of shit. So obviously I don't think he meant to kill these people, but I also think he should be held accountable for his actions, and he wasn't. So
yeah.
whatever.
Well, remember, there's a ton of people that went into making that movie, so you're not supporting him, you're supporting everybody else.
That's true.
Yeah.
Which is why I took pictures with David Naughton at Spooky Empire.
Yeah. Now I am a bit confused because in our official Slashers podcast notes, it says that it's based off characters by John Landis. But when I was doing research, it said that John Landis actually helped write this one. Is that false or correct?
He wrote an early draft.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so a lot of people actually wrote drafts for this one. This wasn't the only screenplay, I think. And so I think it's interesting because of all the screenplays they could have went for.
Well, this was very 90s.
The one where he's bungee jumping off the Eiffel Tower and saves her, and then she loses a shoe. This one was the one.
It's romantic. It's romantic.
Well, I mean, if you like Wile E. Coyote cartoons, I mean, I was waiting for him. Like, this is so goofy looking. Like, you could see the green screen. Like, it looks like this here, where it's like twitching in and out. And then, lo and behold, there is a sound effect in there when he like hits his head on the phone. It's like,
yeah, the gong. Yeah. And the most disappointing thing to me about this movie is they have scenes that kind of play homage to the original one, but we have a scene where in the original one where homie's butt-ass naked outside and he gets up and you see everything. And did they do that this time? No. They showed everything.
He had underwear.
No, he was naked.
Was he naked? Oh, I don't
yeah, but you barely saw. It was when he was in the cemetery, I believe, which that cemetery scene is, I love it. I love the cemetery scene. I know the graphics. Okay, we're going to address this now.
Is your Sega
The
Saturn.
graphics are a little above sci-fi quality.
A little?
Yes. There are some practical effects that they do use, like when she's transforming into the werewolf and she rips her shirt off, like, that's cool. Which, by the way, Jason mentioned this earlier. There's a rated version and an unrated version on Tubi. It's hard to find out which one is which because they're both listed as R, but one of them is longer by like 6 minutes, and you would think that's the unrated one. No, ma'am. Because when I was watching that transformation scene, I noticed that there was no werewolf tits.
Oh, man.
I said, we're switching this real quick because I'm not going. Yeah.
The one on Peacock had no nudity in it at all. Like when, Julie Delpy hops on him. Like, just completely cuts away from her taking her shirt off.
And it has like a really long, uncomfortable scene of the main character. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was like, what am I watching here? This is not what I'm here for. I'm already watching a subpar movie. I need to at least see the fun stuff. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, I watched it on Roku channel. I don't know. Well, I saw nudity, so I guess it's uncut.
If you saw her boobs, it was the uncircumcised.
I don't know if I can't remember if I saw her boobs or the wolf tits boobs because there was like milk squirting out. So I guess lactating wolf is better than lactating woman.
I don't know if we saw the same movie.
I don't. What movie did you watch? You watched American Werewolf in Luxembourg? Is that what you watched?
No, I was watching American Werewolf in Bang.
Luston.
and the red light district. So yeah, now that's funny that you say that, because I had no idea. Like, why? Firstly, why would you? Even with the nudity, it's not that bad. So
It's
why
not
is
bad at all.
It's like a joke,
Yeah.
honestly. The new, like when Julie Delpy like takes time, it's a joke, you know.
Yeah. It's literally like they cut it for TV.
Yeah, totally, it was.
Because there's no other reason to cut it.
She's so embarrassed by this film. Like, she even admits that she only did this movie so she could pay rent.
She doesn't do American or like blockbuster Hollywood movies anymore because of it.
Because of this movie. And I'm thinking
Yeah.
to myself, honey, like, yeah. I mean, this isn't the best movie, but it is a product of the 90s, I would say. Like, this is quintessential 90s. The way they behaved, the way the guys were, the way they acted and dressed. Do you guys remember when they went to see the Cult of Werewolves? And there's all these candles and weapons hanging on the walls, and there's a fucking boombox sitting on the mantle. I'm like, oh, we're gonna have all these ancient things in here, but we're also gonna have a boombox. But it's
Party.
I have
the
questions.
whole room is lit by candles. So where do you plug in the boombox into? Like,
Batteries. You didn't have batteries?
Oh yeah, you could have big.
you remember
double D
playing a
batteries.
CD on the boombox?
I do, yeah.
Batteries in
And
like
also-
2 minutes.
Yeah, no, I just
It's
remember
the one you
get-
carry.
get like, you get like 6D batteries in that thing, and it will drain that motherfucker by the time your
Yeah.
CD was over.
Oh
What do
my
me and a
God.
boombox have in common? You know what I'm talking about? No, but Julie, girl, it's not that bad. I just had to. Oh, excuse me, Julie. What's her name? I used to
Julie
say the wrong
Delpy.
Delpy.
Yeah,
I used to say Julie Deeply. It's not the same person.
Well, there's two Julies. So then we have the more famous. I don't
Julie
say that
Bowen.
Delpy is less. Well, yeah, Julie Bowen is
Yeah,
more
she
popular
is.
than she is, and she had a great role in this. I forgot all about her. I don't know why.
Mhm.
Yeah, she was funny. She was better
Forgot
than
she was
Vince
in this.
Vila. So
I'm not going to say she deserved to die, but she made awful choices the entire time she was alive.
I thought
Oh,
she was a
yeah.
werewolf. I thought she was a werewolf too.
And they called her a bimbo and stuff. So I mean, obviously, it's very not female friendly either with this movie.
Exactly. Now I never went to Paris in the 90s, but I still feel like if you're at a cafe and some dude goes up to you and literally sniffs your panties while you're wearing them, you probably don't go on a date with that guy a little bit later and think he's interesting.
You've never been to
Oh.
Paso Robles before, have you?
Well, no, I have not actually.
Oh.
The only I've been to Oakland, and that's really about it as far as my California experience
sorry.
goes, which is very different from Southern California.
Well, you made it out without gunshots.
That's true. I made it alive.
With her character specifically, this is just something small that annoyed me because they made little hints that she was prey and he was predator.
Yeah.
Because she walks in and she's wearing an animal print skirt, and he targets on her. He's doing some weird growling thing. He sniffs her. They sit down. He's eating steak. She's eating a green bean. Like, it's very much like The Chase. Like, this is some
Oh,
sort of
she's not
nature
eating it.
documentary.
She's sucking a dick of a green bean.
Well,
have you
either
seen-
way, she's
No,
she's
she
blowing
is.
the
She's
Jolly
like,
Green Dime. She is being, a little like me when we went to
Dr.
go meet Jake
Ruth.
for the first time. But
You died too, Doug.
but the thing that annoyed me was I was like, she's wearing Snow Panther pattern. Like, that's not like, maybe you do like a zebra pattern skirt. That would make more sense.
Cheetah.
Or no, that doesn't make sense either because the cheetah's a predator also.
No, she could do the giraffe. I mean, she did that weird giraffe stance where her legs are like split apart. You see when she's like, that's why I thought she was a werewolf. I'm like, why is she standing like that?
Holy Toledo.
Yeah. Real quick for people that haven't seen this movie, it's on basically everything. But basically, we have the beginning of Hostel. The guys go to Paris to, I guess they're just vacationing. I don't know.
No, they're doing the same
No.
thing. They have a list. They're like, oh, if you bang this girl, then you get 10 points.
Yeah,
They're doing
yeah.
it's called a Daredevil tour. Even the I guess the quote unquote hot guy, he's wearing a Daredevil. The jacket he's wearing is
Yeah,
the
they have their
Daredevil
own
thing,
territory.
and so they're trying. Yeah, so they're going on to like they're traveling through Europe to have like a daredevil contest, and whoever gets the most points wins whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So they're doing that, and the guy decides to go bungee jump off of Paris, which one of the trivia which I thought was cool was that the actors actually got to shoot at the Eiffel Tower at night, and they locked down the Eiffel Tower just for them. So that's cool because you never know, like this is like a huge monument in Paris. Like, would they actually let you go film this there? And it turns out, yeah. They're up there. He sees Julie Delpy's character basically trying to commit suicide. He decides to jump after her because he's strung up by some bungee cord. He saves her, gets knocked out, wakes up, and tries to find her. And she obviously does not want him to look for him. So also, guys, kind of learn how to take hints. This could have been avoided if he just would have been like, okay, she obviously doesn't like me. But yeah, so that's where we are right now in the movie with our discussion.
Well, so he finds her at the hospital because that's the whole thing. I think he would have forgot her, but he's in the hospital with. Why is the bandage wrapped on his head that way? Whatever.
Because it's goofy.
And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of goofiness to it that I think that they're trying to play homage to part one, but the goofiness.
But part one was never goofy.
Yeah. Part one has comedic elements. It is funny. Like there are a lot of funny parts to it, but it's natural. Like this movie tries too hard, especially with
slapstick.
Yeah, especially with Tom Everett Scott's, character. What is his name in the movie? Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an idiot the whole time.
With the condom scene.
Like,
I love the condom scene.
It was just, I mean, so you can watch this, but it's not. Is it a scary movie? It's not scary. I wouldn't say it's scary. Like part one is scary. Well, there are parts to it, but whatever. But when he sees her in the hospital, she's dressed in a nurse's uniform, and she's obviously carrying some sort of organ in a bag and trying to get out. And then he sees her, and she sees him, and she's like, "Oh," because apparently she loves him, even though he's not attractive and has a terrible body. But okay, and
it's terrible.
Oh, he was not.
I'm just saying, his body wasn't. He was just a normal skinny dude.
Well, if you find Slinky's attractive,
no pecs, no nothing. Just.
Sorry. Okay.
So I mean, fun. I like I said, the little friend was cute. But I think the best thing that they did with this film that sort of mirrors part one, I think, the dead friends, right? Like,
yeah, it was giving very Frighteners. If y'all remember that one.
Yeah.
Well, I will spill some beef here. So with Vince Viluf, he's like a goofy character, but when he gets mauled, well, see that's later. But anyway, I was gonna say I was surprised. My biggest jump scare was when I started hearing him talk. I'm like, holy shit, he talks, because I'm so used to seeing him in Rat Race where he has his tongue pierced. He's like, so when I saw him talking, I'm like, oh hey, that's what his voice sounds like.
Yeah, he was always kind of like a friend, like goofy sidekick character in most movies I ever saw him in.
Yeah, but when he dies, he's not. He plays it serious. He's like, "You did this. Now you got to kill yourself." I'm like, shut up. The friend in the original movie, he played it. He played it like how he did it regular. You know what I mean? Like he didn't change his demeanor or anything.
Yeah, and he kept going. Like he kept getting more and more like decomposed throughout the movie, which is always a cool thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You got to kill yourself, David. David, you got to die. You got to kill yourself, man."
Yeah, the part that I liked is Julie Bowen's character. Basically, they run into each other at the cafe, or not the cafe. I mean, I guess it's a cafe. Whatever. They run into each other, and they decide to go on a date. He takes her to the cemetery, I guess, to have sex on Jim Morrison's grave. I didn't even know he was.
He'd be cool with
French.
Yeah.
Well,
no, he's not French, but he wanted to be buried in Paris.
I think that was in his contract. He's like, when I die, I want people to fuck on my grave.
Yeah, exactly. It's Jim Morrison. That's what you do.
Yeah. And like, that's my favorite scene is basically he starts turning into a werewolf, and it's the Julie Bowen chase scene, pops out of the water fountain, which when I was a kid was cool. He ends up getting her, and she's very upset. Obviously, she's not his friend, so she's like, "You have to die." So she keeps trying to like figure out ways to get him killed throughout the movie. And then as she starts decomposing, she like tries to whistle and like blood squirts out of her cheek
Yeah.
gash,
Her eyeball
and her
pops out.
eyeball
And then
pops
her
out.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was fun. I liked that.
That was so good. Like if they had just done that, but they had, with her, what they did with the, for the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Imagine how much better this movie would be. Like even if the werewolves were practical.
Yeah.
For the most part.
I gotta say, when he jumped out of that fountain, that werewolf looked like a panther. That's all I could think of when I was watching
Well,
this.
they were actually modeled after lions. They changed the look of the werewolves to mimic lions. And this
I thought they looked like hairless baby birds, those real ugly ones.
They kind of looks like and this is the thing too. What's the one where they look like the possum one with the howling? What part was that?
Oh, the marsupials.
Oh, the marsupials.
Yeah, kind of reminded me of that a little bit.
Yeah, it does. Okay. Well, still, these are marsupials.
But even the
So-
marsupials were practical. Like those look
Yeah,
better
those
than
look
this.
good.
Well, I know that you guys aren't going to agree with me on this, but one of the reasons why I really like this movie, like I said, I saw it in the theater. I didn't want to watch it because I was not a horror fan at this time. My mom made me watch it against my will. So I cried in the beginning, and the other parts I was kind of like huddled in her arm hiding. And so these werewolves, to me, as far as movies go, I feel like are the scariest werewolves in regards to if I was like one-on-one with one, I don't think I could make it. Like there's some werewolf movies where you're like, okay, it moves kind of slow. Like it obviously is a person in a bodysuit, but I don't know. There's something about these werewolves that like really freaked me out. And like their look is different. There are times like the picture Doug has behind him where it does look like it was made in Microsoft Paint. But there's also times where the CGI is not used in a sinful manner, where it's like they're off in the distance, or it's like a little touch of CGI that I was like, okay, that's good. They should have just left it there. Like basically everything in the beginning was okay, but then as it goes on, when it shows the werewolf in like light, or like the werewolf, like when it jumps out of the water and like shakes all the water off, I'm like, oh, okay, you look like a PlayStation 2 game right now.
PlayStation 1.
Well, no, and hair
Yeah.
is notoriously hard for CGI to kind of render anyway. So it was like the shake off part, and of course you don't get like when it runs down, like in the big final, rave scene where they're like running down the stairs. It looks pretty fake.
Yeah.
It's just I mean, I get everybody was going CGI crazy for CGI stuff because it was a new technology. It doesn't look, and I always hating on '90s movies with their CGI because obviously it's going to look dated now. I mean, movies that were like made 5 years ago look dated now, but this looks like rough.
Well, see, the thing is, like, it might be unrealistic looking, but the thing is, I don't know what it was because this came out 96. So actually, this came out a year after Mars Attacks. Mars Attacks used kind of the same technology, and I think that still holds up to this day, like more than these. But see, then again, it's like werewolves with hair, so we're kind of used to seeing what they look like.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No, I mean you have to remember it's part of, like at the time this looked fine. It was the same thing with Mortal Kombat. We watched it. We're still getting used to looking at CGI and what it can do. So we're just taking it for what it is, and I don't think we're necessarily critiquing it back then because this is our first time seeing it. Looking back at it now, obviously it looks like shit, but at the time, would you have cared? Probably not.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to compare it to Mars Attacks because when making this movie, the creators are obviously like, we have to make a scary werewolf that looks realistic. Mars Attacks, I don't think they were trying to make those aliens look realistic. It was just, it was so, I don't mean cartoony in a way of being like animated, but like it's just so flamboyant in their presence that it's like, okay, well, I know this isn't real, whereas werewolves, it's like, we have to kind of make it real because we want to scare people. So I think that's kind of what Mars Attacks may have in its favor. And also it could have just been budget. I don't know. Mars Attacks probably had a way bigger budget than this one. Look at all the stars that were in that one.
This had a pretty good budget though for 25 million at the time.
Yeah. 25
so million. And I mean it's not, I mean I guess Julie Bowen wasn't too huge, but this was after Happy Gilmore. So obviously she was popular from that at the very least. Tom Everett Scott had just done Dead Man on Campus, I think, right?
That's me. It was if it
Mhm.
wasn't before, it was right after. It was like the same time anyway.
I like
Oh
that's
yeah,
like
when
the
did that
only
movie
thing he
come
did.
on? He's in things now. That's the thing. Like I've seen him
Yeah.
in more shit now, like on TV and stuff.
Yeah, he
And I
does like
always
a lot of
remember him as Dead
series.
Man on Campus. But so yeah, no, Dead Man on Campus came out in '98.
That and
Mhm.
Mark Paul Gosselaar's giant bong. That's all I
Oh
remember
yeah,
from that
that
movie.
big old bong. Oh, oh my god, no, we recently watched it.
It was like 4 feet
Again.
tall or something like that. It was just
Yeah,
a-
it was so big and it was so hard. Like 'cause at the time I watched it, I'm like, Zach Morris has black hair.
Oh, and I think it's funny because I don't think Dead Man on Campus, that premise of that law, I don't think it's real. But everyone in our generation was like swearing by it in college.
yeah, it's that
So
urban legend, you know. It's just-
if audience members don't know because you're young, Dead Man on Campus is a movie about if you have a roommate that dies, you automatically ace your classes because of what I guess they consider trauma.
It's not even just that they die, it's that
They had to
kill
commit
themselves.
suicide, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
so it has to be like specific. Oh, it's been forever since I've seen that
yeah.
movie.
That's why in the movie they keep trying to find like really depressed, weird people to move in so they can get them to kill themselves.
Yeah.
And then they got
and-
that super goth kid who's listening to show tunes.
But
Yeah,
that's my thing. Like that, you could never make that movie now, and this is why.
no.
Yeah.
Like,
Uh,
could you
I
imagine?
could whip something up.
Oh
I'm
my
sure
god.
you
Yeah,
could,
we know you
Doug.
can,
I'm sure
Doug.
you could.
You want to talk about what you've been able to pull off so far on Tubi? Oh, silence. Okay, never mind. He made me watch some stuff that I had to go to confession for shortly after. Funny enough, this movie came out on Christmas. Whatever.
That's that, but that is one of the what it was released 3 different times. So
In
I was gonna say,
France,
this
it came
movie
out in
bombed,
March.
didn't it?
It made $1 million, Doug. How dare you?
$1 million.
Its
Out of
budget was
te-
25 million and its gross was 26 million.
So the studio
no
lost
mames.
money on it. Yeah.
No.
oh yeah, it did come out on Christmas. How funny. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't even notice the date. I just noticed that it went from '97, and then, ironically enough, in Paris, it didn't come out until March of '98. So
You know, actually having a Christmas release is actually kind of brilliant because I used to be like, that doesn't make sense unless you're making like Black Christmas. But Christmas is actually a super popular time
yeah.
for movies. Because
I remember we used to go all the time. My mom and I went and saw The Talented Mr. Ripley on Christmas Day.
yeah,
I
like,
remember I went and saw The Wolf of Wall Street on Christmas Day because I wanted to get away from people that I was always with. I was like, I want to go watch a movie real quick. I just kind of like dipped. I did the Irish
Yeah.
goodbye. Time to go watch Wolf of Wall Street.
a lot of families have traditions where they go watch a movie like before or after they celebrate. And I remember on Christmas in 2006, my cousin's girlfriend was pregnant and couldn't drink, and everybody was getting drunk. So we went and watched Black Christmas because I was not of drinking age. Not that it matters at a family gathering, but I was like, let's go watch Black Christmas instead of getting drunk because you're pregnant and you can't do that.
Black Xmas, thank you.
Oh, sorry, Black Miss.
I did the whole list for the movies that came out the year, and not a lot of good ones.
How dare you? Okay, actually, it's fine. Because 98 is when I really started getting hard for horror.
Yeah, 98 was a good year. 98, 99. And 97 isn't terrible because, you have Scream 2. You've got...
Yeah.
I Know
When
You
did
Lost
Bride of
Summer.
Carlitos come out?
That was later.
98.
No, 99?
98.
98, Bride of Chucky.
98, yeah, because I remember that being advertised in like the newspapers, and I was at the YMCA as like a little kid. So.
Yeah,
I remember
98.
the trailers coming on. Yeah, the trailers came on for it on regular TV because we were watching The Wedding Singer on TV, and they kept showing trailers for Bride of Chucky, and it was scaring me. And all I wanted to do was watch The Wedding Singer.
I need to get Austin has this wall art that he got from Etsy where you tell them like what movies you want, and they make a piece of art that's VHS spines for whatever movie you choose. And they'll copy the actual like the way that the spines looked from the VHS. And I really want to do it because 97, 98 is the time that I really like got into horror. So I wanted to do those like monumental ones for me. Everyone, I know this is sacrilege, but this movie will be on that list. The rest
I
of the
got
year,
the VHS. I would have given it to you.
I say I may
No,
have
no,
had the
not-
VHS. I'm not. I think I might have had the VHS
I
tape,
think
but
a
I'm
lot
not
of people
entirely
had
sure
this
if I did.
VHS.
no,
Uh.
not the VHS. The wall art with the spine.
Oh
with the
yeah, no,
other-
I know what you're talking about. I was just saying
Yeah.
that when I came. Yeah, that sounds really cool. Minus this movie, but I'm pretty sure I had this tape.
How dare you,
Honestly,
Jason?
But no,
That's
of
a
course,
hate crime.
as I'm looking over this list that Aid has so lovingly put together for us, really
Yeah.
not a lot of highlights that year.
Okay, so also controversial. Alien Resurrection, amazing. I don't give a fuck what you
Yikes.
guys say. Anaconda,
Yikes.
meh. Devil's
I love
Advocate,
it.
Yeah, we did it
I
on the
love
podcast.
Anaconda.
It's just it's an expensive B movie, and it's fun.
Well, you have
And Jack Frost.
it's not
I mean,
not fair.
that's the one that stands out the most to me.
You have one of the top best CGI movies, like the quality CGI of Event Horizon at the same time. So it's not fair to be like, what's your excuse, American Werewolf in Paris?
Probably a similar budget too.
I would assume
Yeah.
Event Horizon would be much more expensive.
Maybe, I don't know. It's maybe we'll see.
We'll have to phone
I
Jake. They
don't-
did in
Yeah.
one of the first episodes.
And that's the thing with American Werewolf in Paris, for it being so expensive, they couldn't afford stunt doubles because Tom Everett Scott and Julie Delpy both had to do their own stunts. So
Oh
Putin
yeah,
jumping
you
out
are
a window.
right. Yes, $60 million. I thought it would be a little bit cheaper than that. Yeah, $60 million.
oh, for Event Horizon,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it had a bigger cast too. Sam Neill was in it, and a lot of people were in that movie. Oh my
Yeah.
god!
I did read that they did all their own stunts, and I mean, I think Julie didn't really have super. I think the biggest one was probably jumping through the tunnel into the water. Whatever, anyone can do that.
Yeah, they were
Um,
saying that was like really hard for them, and
Oh.
like he couldn't believe they're still alive. And I'm like, well,
Oh
you
my
can do a lot
goodness.
when you're in your 20s and don't care.
They're obviously not from Texas because we jump in every hole we see.
Believe it.
So whoever said 97 was a bad year for horror, stop, because full stop.
I'm looking
have-
at the list. Oh, I
It's
see.
not
Oh,
bad,
never mind.
Jason.
Okay,
I
I just
know,
noticed
I
what
know what
I
you did
noticed the
last
one. Okay,
summer.
I missed that.
I
one.
know
Okay.
what you motherfucking did last motherfucking summer.
You're probably still mad at me
Um,
about that one. I apologize.
Yeah, me and Gunn have had some words about you. You have
here we
Scream 2,
go.
Relic, one of my favesies. Lost World, Perfect Blue, still haven't seen it. Lost Highway, okay, where are the good
Oh,
ones?
Lost Highway was Bonifico.
Oh, Mimic.
Yeah,
Mimic is
Mimic's
was in
fine.
there, Yeah.
Mimic.
Night of the Demons 3. That's
how do you kick someone off the Zoom ones?
what?
I
No.
like.
I like
you-
Mimic. Mimic's fine. I like Mimic. I like Mimic. I've got a lot of nostalgia for Mimic, and I watched it not too long ago, and it's fine. The sequels are whatever, but I mean they are what they are.
Well, Spawn,
Oh,
And-
Wishmaster.
Wishmaster, and Snow White: A Tale of Terror, and I
I never
think
saw
that's a
that
really
one.
good.
I never saw
What
that one.
is
Snow White Tale of Terror is really good.
It is really good. So Sigourney Weaver is amazing, and
Yeah.
honestly, she didn't deserve to be shit on. Like Snow
Who
White
shit on her?
was
I'll
Snow
fight you.
White was such a little bitch to Sigourney Weaver for no reason.
Really?
And then she
Monica
loses
Keena?
Monica Keena.
Oh, are
and
you
then-
talking about the movie?
Yes.
Like what? Oh, I thought you meant like in
Happens
real
the
life.
movie, not real.
I was like,
life.
who was giving Sigourney Weaver shit? She did
I
great in
said
that movie.
Snow White. Jesus.
Oh, Aid. Ugh. She's on
And
another
then-
bender, guys.
Oh, I need to go to bed. My melatonin's kicking in.
Uh-oh.
Anyway.
Okay, so we have a runtime of 102 minutes or shorter if you watch the unrated one, apparently. It was a little long. I'm not gonna lie, it could have been shorter. The one thing I didn't really like about this movie, watching it again, is we have that whimsical score that I don't like in horror movies. And it tried to be funny a little bit too much.
Yeah,
Like,
I wasn't
when
a
it
big
was
fan
funny,
of
it was funny. Yeah. When it was funny, but then there was times where like it tried to be funny and I was like, okay, stop those. Like
Yeah, it didn't the pacing and everything just kind of was a little convoluted. And I liked this movie a lot as a kid, but I think it's because it's not scary, and that's why I always enjoyed it.
yeah.
Watching
You were
it
just
was
a
always
badass
on
bitch.
sci-fi.
Apparently I was just a little pussy boy because I thought
You
it was
were,
scary.
but it was always on sci-fi, and I used to always watch it. And like,
Oh, so you saw it later in life then? Because back
I saw
then,
it, like,
folks,
in
it took a
early
year and a
2000s.
half for a movie to go from the theater to TV.
Yeah,
not a
Yeah.
month
it
like
was
it does these
forever.
days.
Then it was
No,
cropped and edited,
no.
so you watched a cropped and edited
You
version.
know,
Yeah,
the
and
movies would come out in
formatted.
theaters in the summer, and then they wouldn't come till Christmas time, so everybody could buy them up for Christmas, and that's how long it would take. If you didn't see it in theaters, you got to wait 6 months for it
Mhm.
to be able to
Yeah.
rent it or have it. And I remember I rented this from the video store several times when I was a kid. I mean, I
Oh,
liked it,
several
but I watched it.
times.
I watched it, and I watched it, and I was like, this movie's just kind of it's just kind of a bucket of nothing, you know.
I mean, same girl. Um,
game recognizes game, right, Mike?
That's right.
There's some good stuff in here. I mean, like I like the underground werewolf cult. It's funny you even mentioned they had a boombox because weren't they a werewolf cult that wants to get rid of technology?
Yeah, that was the whole
That's what I don't
shtick.
get.
I didn't see. I didn't.
So,
Oh, and
So,
they inject
okay.
they inject themselves with banana pudding, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, but you don't see it.
the whole premise of the film is that Seraphine is the daughter of David's character in part one and the nurse, and obviously David's dead, but the nurse gets remarried to her stepfather, and he's trying to find a cure for her. And the cure he finds ends up expediting her, turning her right away, and she attacks him and rips his legs off, I guess.
Yeah.
Her stepdaddy werewolf.
Relatable content.
Which is why they have the paraplegic werewolf
Yeah.
in the hospital bed. And so I get, and obviously there was a scene cut because we're supposed to learn that the werewolf that turns David and kills Jack in the first one is also part of this werewolf cult in this film. So that's where he came from.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Whatever.
I couldn't track what. You said they want to take technology down. I couldn't track that at all. I just thought they wanted to just kill and everything.
Yeah, they were like smashing
maybe
phones with a hammer or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
I
wanted
can't
to
quite track that.
purify the race.
Yeah, but they were also
that
very
old gag.
yeah. Relevant still. So
Good thing this didn't take place in Munich.
especially with our next choice that's coming up. This is a perfect theme. Yes.
But upon research, for some weird reason, they're remaking American Werewolf in London. I would rather see them remake this one, especially because of because it's set up almost like Paris hates Americans, and that's why they keep trapping Americans in this nightclub where they eat them. And so I'm like, yeah, that would have actually applied today still. I think this would be a good remake. Learn from your mistakes and redo it. You don't have to touch the original one, because even though I enjoyed this one, the original one is like almost a perfect movie.
Yeah.
Well, the original one balances. I think what works so good with the original is that it balances actual scariness with like it's not goofy. It's comedy in like the timing of the dialogue, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like American Werewolf in London really does balance the horror and the comedy more than a lot of other horror comedies do. This one kind of doesn't know what it wants to be. Honestly.
No, it's like 90s teen spirit. Like it smells like teen spirit. But the original Werewolf in London, I think it's terrifying. Like the beginning scene when you like hear the werewolf noises and it's that the woods and the mountains and hills in the background.
Moors,
I think that's super.
The Moors.
The Moors, yeah.
I thought
the original was terrifying as a kid.
The original one definitely follows the whole like isolated type feeling, which makes it scarier, because in this movie the parts that I do think are the creepiest are the parts where someone's off in one of those tunnels and there's a werewolf behind them, and so it's kind of like that.
There's a couple good jump scares, especially when they're in the sewer or underneath you hear the werewolf coming and then it jumps out. Like those are good parts.
I do think that the flashlight gag with the policewoman, like I think that's a really effective kind of scare. I was like, okay, I think that part's I don't really enjoy this movie a whole lot, but I did. Okay, that's actually really good. And the werewolf actually looks good because you're only seeing flashes and shadows. Like that's kind of how it should have been. My other big gripe with this movie though is that you don't really get a good transformation scene. I mean, you kind of get the fountain, which is, I mean, it was cool for the time. But with you look at the American Werewolf in London now, it's probably got an all-time transformation scene. It's like either that or the Howling. You don't really get that. I mean, you kind of get the train station transformation a little bit too, which is kind of cool. When he gets the needle in his heart. But I was kind of like, where's this doesn't have a signature like werewolf transformation to me. I mean, maybe you can point to the fountain thing, but that was another one of my gripes with the movie.
I don't think the fountain thing is all that great, to be honest, because the transformation happens in the water. You don't even see it.
Like gremlins.
Yeah. And it's funny you brought that up, because my next point was, when you're signing yourself up to remake this movie, you're signing yourself up for failure, because I am 99% sure you can't pull off a better transformation scene than the original one. And if you're trying to, I better see some big names attached to this remake. Like, there's no point in remaking the original one if you can't do it.
Yeah, they're gonna make it CGI. Like,
yeah,
let's
that's
just
all it's
call
going
a
to
spade
be.
a spade.
Yeah.
It's gonna be CGI, and it's gonna be shit. So why redo it?
I'm sure the director will come out and be like, "Oh yeah, we're going to stay to the original. We're going to use as much practical effects as we possibly can." And then it'll be like all the transformation scenes are going to be like, but CG, it's going to like the Hulk, like,
it's going to pull an Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah, well, Evil Dead Rise, like, I mean, even watching that again, I didn't really pick up as much of the CGI, but the 2011 one, holy Jesus Christ, like, I'm like, this is embarrassing. You should, director, go yourself. Seriously, that's
goodness.
This is terrible. Jesus.
Well, I don't remember that thing. I mean, I've seen it, but I don't remember that one specifically.
Never seen it.
You should
legitimately never seen it.
Jason, I'm putting you on the hot seat because you are the one that seems to not like this the most.
It's true.
What is the standout scene for you, if there is one?
I mean, the cemetery scene. That's probably the one that stands out the most in my eyes. There's some other scenes that are kind of cool or interesting. I did remember the shooting themselves up with banana pudding, like Doug said, like all those Southern grandmothers. The movie it kind of ambles along. There's just not as much kind of memorable stuff. The one friend that doesn't die, he just kind of keeps showing up and needing captured like 3 times in this movie,
but shirtless.
Exactly. At a certain point, maybe you just cut your losses and go on your trek down to Madrid. Paris was a wash. Time to go see what Spain's all about.
I'll meet you in Spain, sir.
Exactly.
Well, what I find so funny is that they bring him back. I still don't understand the point why they brought Andy back. And they're like, "Oh, kill your friend now," and he's like tied up like Jesus on the cross there.
Yeah, and then they blow that place up. And then they blow the place up. But
and then there's like a makeout. Yeah, he's like, my friend's tied up in a cross. He's about to get cartelled down in the basement. But let's have a hot makeout session.
Yes. Also, these are the weakest werewolves ever because he just shoots them with the gun and they die. I was like, they didn't say, or did they say anything about silver bullets or anything? Because they just got them from the cops.
I don't think so.
So I was like, the werewolf lore, whatever it was, was there any kind of like killing lore? And I guess he did get shot down in the American Werewolf London too. So I guess they were following the rules of the first movie.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Yeah, because it wasn't. So maybe never mind. Maybe I'm nitpicking where it does need to be a nitpick. I was also kind of disappointed though because it was written. One of the co-writers was Tom Stearns, and he wrote Freaked. I like that movie a lot. That movie was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Oh, Freaked. Yeah.
He was one of the co-writers of Freaked, and that movie was awesome.
I was like, maybe Freaked,
if they could have taken. But I mean, of course, he said this movie was not in any way, shape, or form the movie he wrote. He just got his name put onto it because of the guild arbitration. So
everybody seems to have that statement in this movie.
Yeah, I watched. There's like so many like notes about who wrote this, and everybody being pissed about not getting credit for it and stuff. Whatever. There was like 7 drafts in between his draft and whatever got made eventually, which is always a sign of a good movie when you've got like 800 chefs in the kitchen. At a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give it like a 5. That's just my thoughts. It's not. It's not a bad movie, really. It's just kind of a forgettable ho hum, whatever. It's kind of just. It's more. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Oh no! That's the worst review you can give something.
Well, here's what I'll say, because I've been seeing a lot of like movies in theaters recently, and this is it's almost like a fresh break. What I find it's a time capsule of its time. But I enjoyed it strictly because it is bizarro, and I use that term lightly. But the craziness is that this movie is just so kind of goofy, and it doesn't know what it wants to be. And it is what like the CGI is terrible. It's Sega CD graphics, But at the end of the day, it's fun. I enjoyed watching it. Yahira was watching it too, and it's like I don't think we'll ever see movies like this again, where it's like doesn't know what it wants to be. It's a huge blender of like all these hands, and like it's just like it's supposed to be funny on that big of a budget. You know what I mean? Because I think studios are too, especially with the internet now, they're like, oh, we're gonna do as much, get as much feedback before we even release the film. So I don't think you'd get a movie like this nowadays, which is kind of, I think this makes it a very unique movie, for its
Sure.
time.
Yeah, if they made this movie now, they'd be YouTubers like Instagram.
Yeah.
And I was like, ugh.
I thought the ending was really cringy. At first, I'm like, oh,
Oh yeah, they jump off Statue of Liberty.
yeah, and he's like, we got to catch the ring.
Well, that's a great wrap up, everybody.
So what did you guys give it? Is this a what was it we used to do on Slashers podcast? Is it a trashic, slashic, or classic?
I think
I would say
trashic.
trashic.
Trashic. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a great midnight movie.
Yeah.
So that's what I say.
This is a good kill your afternoon movie.
Mm.
Got nothing to do when it's on television.
I was gonna say, if you don't mind like nudity, it's actually like it's a cool movie for like younger horror fans, not like children, but
Yeah.
like teenagers that are like, can we watch a scary movie? It's like fine. There's like 2 seconds of boobs in a non-sexual way. I give it a 2.5 out of 5. So I'm with you in the middle of the road. I love it, but I can see its faults and see what could be improved.
Sure.
So as a movie, I give it 2.5, but I enjoy it. That concludes today's episode of The Dog Days of Summer featuring American Werewolf in Pity. If you guys want to support us monetarily, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/slasherspod. You can also follow Doug on Instagram at Doug Bizarro. You can follow me at Horror and a Half Shell or Jason at Jason Hill
63, I believe.
63.
Yeah, not quite as fun as some of the other ones that come later, but it's a number.
Yeah. You can also find us on Facebook. Join our group Mutant Goons from Beyond, and we're Mutant Goons from Beyond on Instagram as well. So with that said, drop us a review. If you enjoyed us, give us 5 stars. If not, then don't review us. We will bring you another film regarding the Dog Days of Summer next week. So until then, goodbye and good night.
See ya.
How do they say bye in Paris in French?
Sacre bleu.
Escargot makes my car go. I don't know.
Garcon. Remember when he called the waiter Garcon? Garcon. I was like, oh my God. Anyways.
What is the problem? I didn't hear any wee wees. I didn't hear sacre blues. I didn't hear so
no, it wasn't authentic.
Cool story, bro. No, stop.